RW down here in the shop. I'm getting ready to stabilize some redwood burl knife blanks. I'm going to send off to my buddy Digs-Fossils-n-Knives. I've had these blanks for a real long time. They're beautiful book matched thick knife blanks of redwood burl, and burl really benefits from being stabilized with a heat cured resin. So let me show you the product. This is the stuff. You get it from turntex.com. And the process is not difficult, but it is time consuming. So you need a vacuum pump. You need a vacuum chamber. A vacuum chamber is just basically, in this case, a heavy soup pot with a special 1/2 inch thick Lexan lid that has a special gasket on it, vacuum gauge, and a relief valve. And in order to use as little of the juice as possible. I mean, if I had gallons of it, I could just fill the whole pot up, drop the wood in there, and no problem. But I don't. I just have a little bit. So this is about how long the blanks are. This is the material. I've cut a little tiny bit off of it just so they'll fit in my vacuum chamber. They were a little long. I've taken a real heavy-duty aluminum baking pan, and I've carefully folded it as small as I can to fit the blanks side to side. Okay, and I took care not to punch any holes in it while I was bending it. And that'll also keep my vacuum chamber clean, so I don't have to worry about cleaning the resin out of it. This stuff will only cure when you put it in the oven. And you can get the directions, the full directions, by just going to turntex.com. And you can get the full directions on how to use this. But the bottom line is the wood needs to have as little moisture in it as possible. Basically, zero moisture is ideal. The best way to do that is to put it in the oven for 220 degrees and let it just sit there for like 24 hours. After that, you have to let it cool, or it can cause this to prematurely catalyze. So you let it cool, but as the wood cools, it wants to suck up moisture, so you need to take the hot blanks out of the oven, put them in a Ziploc bag, get as much air out of the bag as possible, and seal it, and then let them cool. So before you put your wood into the chamber, regardless of what kind of chamber you've got, this is a real improvised type chamber, but you'll need to support it off the bottom. So I've got these two little pieces of brake line here, which I've cut to size, so I can rest my blanks on top of that and have a little space on the bottom so that the air can get around it. Then you're going to want to hold down the pieces because they're going to want to be buoyant, and you're going to want something that holds them down, that lets all the little bubbles come out of it when you turn on your vacuum chamber. So once the wood's in there, then you put down something like a piece of mesh like this, and then you take something that's suitably heavy enough to hold the wood down so it doesn't float, and you put that on there. I'm not sure how this is going to work out. I might use something different. But yeah, I've got lots of things to weight it down with. That's not an issue. Then you put the vacuum chamber on and you turn it on and you let it go for maybe a half an hour to an hour and a half. You're basically going until it stops frothing and you don't see any bubbles coming out of the wood anymore. At that point, you release the pressure, turn off your pump, and you let it sit for twice as long as you had it in the vacuum chamber. So if it was an hour and a half, you let it sit for 3 hours minimum. So it depends on how thick the wood is. It depends on the species of wood. This is redwood, so it would really be good if I could just let this soak for a week. That would be awesome. Most of the uptake occurs in after you've turned off the vacuum pump, so it's important to let it soak for a long time to get the best results. Then you take them out, you let them drain, right? You wrap them in foil just so it's neat. You don't have to wrap them in foil, but otherwise the resin will ooze out and get all over your oven and stuff. That's no cool. You put it in the oven and you let it go for at least a couple hours in the oven. So you're going to, I think it's 275 degrees, but I'll check again. And you let it cook until the resin is completely cured. If you stop, take them out, look at them, go, oh my gosh, these aren't cured, and you put them back in the oven, it's not going to work. So it's better to err on the side of letting it cook longer, which won't hurt it, as compared to trying to pull it out too soon It's just same thing with the resin. It doesn't make sense to go to all the trouble of doing this and then take them out of the resin too soon. So I'm going to basically be baking the things all day. Then tomorrow I'll do the vacuum process, and then I'll let them soak all day. And then the next day I'll wrap them up and I'll bake them. So like I said, it's a time-consuming process. It takes about, it could take a week. It could take 3 days. It's going to take a while. But it'll be well worth it because these are really incredible pieces of wood. But as you can see, the stuff has voids and cracks and stuff in it, and that's what the heat-cured resin stabilizes. It fills that all up, plasticizes it, and then when you want to, make a knife blank out of it, you've got a plasticized piece of wood that polishes up into an amazing jewel, just like you see the pen turners when they turn their pens on the lathes, and it just looks like a piece of glass when they're done with it. That's the trick. All right, guys, just thought I'd share that with you. Just a little something I want to do for my friend Diggs. He's a great guy, and I'm going to leave a link in the description box below to go check out his latest video where he's listed a whole bunch of his little Kiradashis for sale. I have one of his Kiradashis. I use it every day. I love it. It's a great little utility knife. It can also be used for personal defense. I just think they're awesome. I use it to pull splinters out of my skin. I use it to, make marks, cut things all the time. I'm using it constantly. So that's it, guys. I'm going to be doing a little vacuum stabilization, and there's no sense in me, boring you with more details of the process. I will show you some finished results in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the Mountain Storm channel.